Hey everyone, welcome back. So today we're going to be looking at something, something pretty cool. It's AI stuff in it.
Uh-huh.
You know our listeners love this kind of stuff, especially when we talk about things that are in that AI and machine learning space. And this paper from WeCo AI has got me super excited. It's about this thing called AIDE, which stands for AI-driven exploration. Now, you've probably heard of AutoML, right? These tools that try to kind of automate some of the building of machine learning models, but AIDE takes it to like a whole new level.
Yeah, it really does. AIDE uses these things called large language models, or LLMs for short, to basically write code and optimize these ML models. So we're talking AI building AI. Pretty wild.
Yeah, that's super cool. But before we get too far into all that, can you remind us why this is such a big deal? Like, why is building these machine learning models so tricky in the first place?
Oh man, building a good machine learning model, it can take so long. It's a lot of trial and error. You're tweaking parameters. You're trying different algorithms, basically fiddling around with stuff until something clicks. It can be a real pain.
Yeah, and it's super manual. And so existing AutoML tools, they try to help with that, but they've got their limits, right?
Yeah, they do. They're definitely helpful, but they're kind of stuck in a box in a way. They work within these predefined search spaces, kind of like if you imagine using a set of pre-approved Lego bricks to build something, which means they might miss out on these really creative solutions that are outside those boundaries. And they can be computationally expensive, which is, not ideal.
Right. And so that's where these LLMs come in with their ability to understand and even write code, like they're fluent in machine learning.
Exactly. And AIDE really takes advantage of that. It uses LLMs to explore this much wider range of possible solutions. It does it in this really smart and efficient way. Like imagine trying to find the best recipe for a cake. You could just randomly throw ingredients together, but they would take forever. AIDE is like this master baker, carefully selecting ingredients and adjusting proportions based on years of experience.
Okay, so it's not just trying things randomly, it's actually understanding the code and making like informed decisions. So how does it actually do that? In the paper, they talk about aid using a tree search. What's that all about?
So think of it like a choose-your-own-adventure book. But for code, each page is like a different code change to the machine learning model. AIDE is basically flipping through those pages, exploring different branches of possibilities. But it does it strategically. It figures out really quickly which paths are likely to lead to, you know, the tastiest cake, so to speak, or the best performing model. And it skips the ones that probably won't work out.
So it's constantly evaluating how well each code change performs and choosing the most promising paths. Clever. And speaking of being clever, aid has these three key functions: drafting, debugging, and improving. What do those actually look like in action?
Oh, good question. So drafting is like starting from scratch. You're creating a whole new solution. Like AIDE saying, okay, let's bake a cake from scratch and see what I come up with. And then there's debugging, which is all about fixing errors in the code. Even AIDE makes mistakes sometimes. It might accidentally add salt instead of sugar. And so this function is all about finding and fixing those errors.
So like having a coding buddy who's always double checking your work.
Yeah, exactly. And then finally, there's improving. This is where AIDE takes an existing solution and it tries to make it even better, like tweaking that recipe to make the cake even more delicious. It might adjust the model's architecture, tweak some settings, or add some special ingredients, all with the goal of making the model perform better.
This is all amazing, but I imagine if you're feeding the LLM every single code change, things could get kind of overwhelming pretty quickly. How does AID avoid like information overload?
Yeah, that's a really important point. And the researchers actually address that by giving AIDE the ability to summarize. So instead of just bombarding the LLM with every little detail, it provides this concise summary of what's been done so far. It's kind of like giving the LLM a cheat sheet, highlighting the key takeaways and most important performance metrics from previous iterations.
So it's focusing on the need to know information, like the highlights of the development process, rather than every single detail. Smart way to keep things manageable.
Right, and on top of that, AIDE also gives the LLM a data preview before it even starts building anything. It's like showing the LLM a blueprint before it starts construction.
And why is that so important?
It gives the LLM context, so it can see what the data looks like, how it's structured, the size of the data set, what kind of information it contains. All that helps AIDE make more informed decisions about how to build the model.
So it's all about giving the LLM the right information at the right time, so it can make the best decisions possible.
Exactly. And all these clever techniques, they all work together to make AIDE surprisingly efficient and effective. But the real question is, how well does it actually work?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. The research team put AIDE through a pretty rigorous series of tests, right? We're talking about the Kaggle benchmark, the OpenAI MLE bench, and even the Meechar R bench. Each one was designed to evaluate AIDE's capabilities in different ways.
Yeah, for sure. Let's start with the Kaggle benchmark. This one focused on what we call tabular machine learning tasks, which are really common in real-world applications. And they actually had AIDE compete against human Kaggle competitors.
Whoa, so they pitted AIDE against like some of the best data scientists in the world. That's bold. What happened?
Well, AIDE, it consistently outperformed a pretty significant portion of the human competitors. In fact, it even achieved top rankings on several of the tasks, exceeding the performance of over 50% of the human participants. On average,
So AIDE wasn't just keeping up, it was actually beating some of the best human minds out there. That's super impressive. What about the other benchmarks, the MLE bench and the R bench? How did AIDE do there? Okay, so we've seen AIDE go head-to-head with humans and come out on top. What about the MLE bench? I know that one covers like a wider range of tasks like deep learning, which always sounds super complex to me.
yeah, it is complex, but that's actually where AIDE really shines. It actually performed best when they used the most powerful LLMs available.
Makes sense.
It's like giving a master chef, top-of-the-line ingredients and equipment. They can just create even more amazing dishes.
So the better the tools, the better AIDE performs.
Right.
What were the results?
So on the ML Bench, AIDE actually achieved medals in almost 17% of the competitions,
Wow.
which might not sound like a lot, but it's actually almost 4 times better than the next best AI agent.
Okay, so AIDE is clearly a top contender in the world of machine learning. What about the R bench, which focuses on AI research and development? That sounds like a whole other ballgame.
It is, and that's where they saw some limitations with AIDE. It struggled a bit with very large code bases and problems that require multiple steps of reasoning.
Hmm.
It's still very efficient, but sometimes it gets stuck in what we call a local optima.
What does that mean?
So imagine you're like hiking in the mountains and you're trying to find the highest peak. You might reach the top of a hill and think you've made it, but there's actually a much taller mountain hidden behind it. And so AIDE can sometimes get stuck on that smaller hill and miss out on a potentially better solution because it's so focused on the immediate gains.
So it's kind of like having tunnel vision. It's so focused on optimizing one part of the problem that it misses the bigger picture.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. But even with those limitations, AIDE is still a huge leap forward in the automation of machine learning.
Yeah, you're right. It's shown it can compete with humans, outperform other AI agents, and even tackle complex research problems. But beyond just like winning competitions, what does this mean for the future of AI?
Well, think about the average person who wants to use AI, like a small business owner or a student working on a project. They might have great ideas, but they lack the technical expertise to build these sophisticated models.
And that's where AIDE could really change things, right?
Exactly.
They could make AI more accessible to everyone.
Yeah, even those without a coding background.
Like, imagine a world where anyone with a good idea could build a machine learning model to solve a problem or explore their curiosity.
Right.
Like, a high school student could use AIDE to analyze data for a science fair project. A local business could optimize their marketing campaigns. The possibilities are kind of endless.
Totally.
It's like giving everyone the power to harness AI regardless of their technical skills.
Yeah.
That's powerful. And what about the impact on research?
Well, think about scientists and researchers who spend countless hours building and tweaking models. What if AIDE could just take over those tedious tasks?
They could focus on the bigger questions like the why instead of the how.
Exactly.
They could spend more time interpreting results, designing experiments, collaborating with others.
Right. It could significantly accelerate scientific discovery and lead to breakthroughs in fields like medicine, climate science, engineering.
We could see solutions to problems we haven't even thought of yet.
Exactly.
It's exciting to think about the potential, but we also need to be realistic. AIDE isn't perfect, and there are still challenges to overcome.
Absolutely. Remember those limitations we talked about.
Right.
We're still in the early stages, and there's definitely room for improvement. Plus, as AI becomes more powerful and more accessible, we need to think carefully about how it's used and who has access to it.
Yeah, so while we're excited about the potential, we also need to be mindful of the responsibility that comes with it.
For sure.
It's a powerful tool, and like any tool, it can be used for good or for bad.
Exactly. It's up to us to ensure that AI is developed and used in a way that benefits everyone. But, for now, let's take a moment to appreciate just how far we've come. We're witnessing a fundamental shift in how we approach machine learning development.
Right, we're moving from a world of manual, time-consuming processes to a world where AI is building AI.
Yeah.
It's like opening up a whole new chapter in the story of technology.
Yeah.
It really does feel like a new chapter one where the lines between, creator and creation start to blur. And that brings us to a really interesting question for you, the listener. If AI can automate the development of AI, what does that mean for the future of the field, and what does it mean for all of us?
Well, that's the question, isn't it? What happens when the student surpasses the teacher?
Right.
I mean, we've seen aides achieve some incredible things, even outperforming humans in some areas. So where do we go from here?
Yeah, I mean, what if building ML models becomes like as easy as using a spreadsheet or like a simple app? Could we see an explosion of AI applications? Will AI become integrated into every aspect of our lives?
It's definitely possible we could see a world where AI is powering everything from our homes and our cars to healthcare and education. Think personalized learning plans for every student, traffic systems. They can predict and prevent congestion, medical diagnoses that are faster and more accurate than ever before.
It's mind-blowing to think about the potential, but it's also a little bit daunting, isn't it? What about the jobs that might be displaced by AI, and how do we ensure that AI is used responsibly and ethically?
Those are really important questions, and we need to be having these open and honest conversations about them as a society. It's not just about the technology itself, it's about how we choose to use it and what kind of future we want to create.
We need to be proactive, not reactive. We can't just wait and see what happens. We need to shape the future of AI in a way that benefits everyone.
I completely agree, and that's why this research on aid is so important. It's not just a technological breakthrough, it's a catalyst for these crucial conversations.
So to wrap things up, what's the one key takeaway you hope our listener walks away with today?
I think the biggest takeaway is that A is a glimpse into the future of AI, a future where machines are not just tools but collaborators. It has the potential to democratize AI, accelerate scientific discovery, and transform countless industries, but it also challenges us to think deeply about the ethical implications and societal impact of these increasingly powerful AI systems.
It's an exciting time to be following this field, but it's also a time for careful consideration and thoughtful discussion. And that's what we hope we've sparked with this deep dive. If you're interested in learning more about AID and its potential impact, we encourage you to check out the research paper from WICO AI and keep exploring the world of AI and machine learning. It's a journey full of possibilities, and who knows what amazing discoveries await us just around the corner.
Well said. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
And until next time, keep learning, keep questioning, and keep exploring.